as you said, that is the first initiative by the institute. We will be having in the next 2.5 hour the journey through the essential of the drafting for the notices, meetings, minutes, agenda, resolution, reports. Like, as before I proceed, I know that all of you are participating with a great interest. There are a lot of things comes into our mind, a lot of things which generates us. I always say that as a student, like I always try to connect with the student. I always say that if you really want to make a move in your life, you should have a curiosity to know the reason for everything. Like in my words, I always say that I always ask why if you want to fly high, and don't feel shy to ask it's why. So that means having the curiosity to know that why this is happening, why we need to do this, why this is required, why we are doing this, what benefit we will have. So my first question comes to you that when we come to this session, a question must be in your mind. It was why we are attending this session, why we are going through this session. That should be in your mind. If it is not, then I will say you need to generate it. Now, some of you must be thinking at this point of time, when I said this, you will say, sir, we all are joining because it is a part of our curriculum and we have to do it. And that's why we are here. Then I will differ from you here that if you have a benchmark to move ahead in your life, then make sure there should be some motive, some purpose, some determination in mind. So today, the session which is on the essentials for the drafting of this notices, minutes, agenda, resolution, reports, why this comes into the mind, so why we actually need to get the idea of all about this. So my answer to this will be for one reason. Sir, what is the reason? The reason that these drafting skills are very much important for all of us, and important for all of us to understand the law requirement. Now you say, sir, with these drafting, how come the law requirement is involved? The law requirement is involved from one perspective only. What is this one perspective for the involvement of the law requirement? The law requirement is that when you are drafting all these, you are sharing text, agenda, notices, you need to be very much careful. You need to take all abundant precautions while circulating it. That even a single slippage. Can I request somebody, I think, has a on. Please mute yourself. Please mute your mic. Yeah, thank you. Can you please mute your mic because your mic is having some issues?
Hello, Rajiv ji.
Please, madam, this is Ravi here. Please mute your mic. I think your mic is creating issues.
No, sir, I have already muted.
Yeah, thank you. So what I was saying that this comes for the legal requirement now. Sir, how come the legal requirement comes into the picture? The legal requirement comes into the picture for various reasons. Because merely drafting and circulation is not the job role of our profession. Don't correlate it as that we are supposed to draft the notices, we are supposed to draft the agenda, we are supposed to draft minutes, we are supposed to draft resolution. So a question will be coming in your mind. More or less, it is all about sir, drafting what you are saying. Your question must be, when the thing will come into your mind is that we all are about drafting and nothing else. Then I will say it is not about the drafting. It is something more than that. What is more than that? That you need to be careful covering your legal aspect, circulation in time, and more so beyond circulation. You have to be very careful with the uses of words. Now, why the words come into the picture, I will discuss it later on while discussing with you the other aspect. So all these makes for ourselves very much essential to understand all these nitty-gritty things. Sir, we understood this. Now, I will take you through one by one. What is the notice area? What are the agenda area? What are the minutes area? How you can elaborate, how you can develop yourself there. That I will take you through. So how I will take you, I'll first take you to the notice part. I think screen is visible, right? Because people are saying I'm not visible, so you can see the screen that what I'm saying, and I'm sure that is visible, right? So now coming to the next part, the notice. Notice generally it's segregated into two areas. The notice is segregated to for the board meeting purpose. Second is for the purpose of general meeting. One is aspect of board and the another is aspect of general. So what is this board and general? The board is mainly relating to the board of directors, and general meeting further segregated into AGM or EGM. We all know in the law we are required to call an annual general meeting of the shareholders, as well as we are required to call EGM, extraordinary general meeting of the shareholders, as and when required. beside this, there is a main body, the board of directors, which acts on the instruction of the management, means you can say which acts on the instruction of the shareholder as a caretaker of the company. So the board. Now the notices goes to both, because whenever there is a board meeting, you will show the you will circulate the notice to the board. Whenever there is a general meeting, you will circulate the notices to the shareholders. Now, sir, we understood this. This is what? This is a normal draft, like we will circulate or we will inform something like that. There is a meeting, please attend the meeting. That is notice all about. Right? Because in our day-to-day life, when I do talk about the notices, or I do talk that please do inform me about the meeting and all, the one and only thing came into my mind is that, okay, sir, we got your point. I just will call you up, or will just send a one-liner mail that the meeting is on so-and-so, please do attend the meeting. And that's it. Why we are discussing too much on this? Then I will say, you are going wrong. Sir, again, you are saying me the wrong. Yes, I will tell you the reason why I am saying. First, we need to understand the legal requirement. When we are discussing this, the legal requirement is the one thing that we need to be ensured about, that we need to know about. Sir, what is this legal requirement? For the notice item, it covers 3 areas. Sir, what are those 3 areas? The one is the circulation, the another is the information, and the third one is the authority. Sir, what are these? Circulation, information, authority. Sir, how do these elements play a role in drafting? These roles do play a role in drafting. How come? There are ways. Like when I'm circulating it, I need to be sure that how many days in advance it has to be circulated. Like we all know, I'm sure that you must have been through with your curriculum, which is a vast curriculum. That notice for the board meeting has to be given 7 days in advance as per your Secretariat Standard 1, and Secretariat Standard 1 is mandatory. So there is a 7 days requirement. Then comes, what are the information should I include there? Like what I need to write, because we generally know if it is notice, I will write, dear sir, we would like to inform you that a board of meeting has been called on this day, and accordingly, you are required to be present on this day. That's it. Beside this, do we need to include any information? I will say yes. Sir, you are saying yes, but what information? What information I am saying? Say, for example, if you are aware of the provision, and if it should not be, if you should be aware of this provision, that section 173 of your act, the Companies Act 2013, mandates that even the board meeting can be held through video conferencing. Like we are attending the session through video conferencing, the board meeting can happen by way of video conferencing. So the board meeting is permitted through that route. And you have to give that option to the directors that I'm going to call a meeting, and there can be a facility of video conference if you want. So that option has to be there. Sir, can you come back? I will say, while drafting, you need to be careful about the information to be included. Information in the sense that yes, the electronic video conference provision. And that is why we say it's a challenging role that we need to be careful about everything in our day-to-day dealing with the directors of the board. And third is that authority, who will issue the notice. Because you will think like anybody can issue, sir, company mein kisi ko bol denge, then any person can issue the notice. I will say no, not anyone. It has to be issued by the company secretary of the company, because he is supposed to assist the board in every role. So the company secretary is the first person who will be issuing the notice. Sir, or who else can? The other person else can be the director. And beside director, you will say, sir, if say for example, director wants to authorize someone and director do not want to issue the notice. Say for example, 2 directors are there. How they will issue the notice to each other? Yes, sir, very right. How they will issue to each other? Then it will be like one-to-one message. So they may authorize someone to issue the notice. And good that you people are answering it. Good. So any person can be authorized by the board to issue the notice. So these are the things you should have first prerequisite. I always say these are the prerequisite to draft the notice very well, because without prerequisite, you cannot present the agenda in a constructive manner. Then I told you that what is going to be the menu, right? I am teaching you in a safe way. Then first, let's discuss about the menu. What is the menu? We discuss this. Next, we'll discuss what are the key ingredients which are required for preparing this. Means what are the things that will be required for preparing it in a very well manner. The thing is that you need to first know what will be the date and time. Why? Because you know that board meeting cannot be held, or means even if the board meeting is a chon, it cannot be held on national holiday. If you remember it very well. So the date, timing, you should know. Purpose, you should know. Why? The reason being, if you do not know the purpose and you have called board meeting, suddenly you come to know that there is no agenda item to discuss. Then you are calling a bogus meeting. It will become a discussion like we people. We generally call each other, we call every day our friend, and then we talk about some issue which are irrelevant. So it will become like that. So to ensure that, you need to understand the purpose first. Okay, sir. So first ingredient you told date and time. Second, you should purpose. Third, to determine the menu. Now you know it can be held anywhere, right? Anywhere doesn't mean you can assemble somewhere in the CCD. You will sit aside in the CCD, and there you will discuss this, right? It cannot be. It has to be properly convened, conducted, and concluded. There are 3C: convened, conducted, and concluded. So venue you need to be aware of. You need to be aware of whether you are giving the VC video conference. If you are the video conference, then you have to get the facility of video conference. So these things you have to in mind. Then authority we have already discussed. So with this, at least you develop an idea about the ingredients. So see, we are going to prepare a recipe. Now we know the menu. We know the ingredients that what we will require for preparing this. Somebody in between I would like to answer, because yes, I will definitely, there are some people, they are writing some query. What I will request, keep your query. I will definitely answer at the end. I'll take 10 minutes at the end to answer all your queries. So keep your queries, jot it down, and I'll definitely ensure I will answer this. Thank you. So now we know the menu. We know the key ingredients that what we will require. Sir, now the only question comes into our mind, how we will prepare it. I told you we are going to be a chef for the day, right? We are a complete chef during this time. Somebody told us a menu. Somebody has given us the ingredients required. Now, sir, how I will prepare it? That's a big challenge. If I say you I need a paneer tikka and I give you the paneer and the spices required for this, but if you do not know how to prepare it, will it serve the purpose? Absolutely, the answer will be no. So how we will prepare it well, sir? Let us check about all this, that how we can go and how we can present it in a proper manner. I will say there are some of the ways to keep in mind while sending the notice. Drafting notice is not a Herculean task. It's a, like you can say, reasonably within your capacity. So how you will do? First, check legal provision before drafting. Legal provisions in the sense that whether the notice you are issuing for the meeting has a power to discuss that or not. Right? Sir, how come the board has all the power to discuss? Yes, but there are certain items which needs shareholders approval as well. So you need to plan in such a way that obviously the board will call the shareholders meeting and it will go to the shareholders as well. So that is the first thing that you need to check the legal provision, whether the law mandates you or not. Second, check applicability of SS. Applicability of SS in the sense I mean to say, there are certain companies which are exempted from the SS, like OPC, Section 8 company, they are exempted. Else, we all are required, the other companies are required to comply with the SS. So we need to follow with the SS then. Sir, we understood. We will follow the legal provision, and when we will follow the legal provisions of the Companies Act also. Now question comes, sir, just one more thing coming into the mind. Is there anything we require to check? Yes, there is a one more thing required to check. That is, when you are issuing the notice, the SS requires to mandate or writing the serial number of the meeting, date, time, venue, and mode of participation. These things shouldn't be missed out in your intimation. Sir, what are you saying? Yes, these things are crucial. So these things have to be cooked into first. The serial number, time, date, venue, mode of participation. So serial number in the sense, can you elaborate? Serial number in the sense, whether it's a first meeting, whether it's a second meeting, whether it's a third meeting. So sir, we will maintain like this for the infinity times till the company goes on. Yes, you have to maintain this. Or the other way is that you can maintain the different permutation and combination for serial number. Right? Sir, what we should write, say for example, we are writing for this financial year, say for this is year financial year 2020 and 2021 is going on. So if I'm writing for 2020, 2021, then I will write first meeting of this financial year, second meeting of this financial year, third meeting of this financial year. So we can go like this, right? There is no problem in going this way. Or better is that if you can maintain that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and the list goes on. So that is the way that how you can go about. Sir, now understanding this, that this is the main requirement, can you just show us the format? Can you just show something that we can see how the notice is issued? Yes, why not? I will show you. Just see on your screen. You can see a draft of the notice. See, at extreme front. And the top of this, you will see the serial number. Just see, this is the serial number highlighted portion. So that has to be, first of all, mentioned in your notice. Never forget it. Then you can see here, there are date, time, serial number is duly highlighted by the arrow also. You can see on the screen. It's a duly highlighted by the arrow. Yes, sir, we all can see by highlighted by the arrow. It's a brown arrow you all can see, isn't it? It's highlighted serial number. And then the second highlighted portion is regarding the electronic meeting. How you can go the electronic meeting. How you can allow the options of participating through electronic mode. Right? Now, the next thing will come is, sir, we have understood. See, it is already plainly written in a simple language. Notice is hereby given that this serial number of meeting will happen on this day, time, year, date, venue. Then they are also writing there that the agenda of the meeting is enclosed. You may choose to enclose or you may not. Why I'm saying, because notice and agenda both may be required, both have to be required in advance of 7 days. So there might be some situation like when I am issuing the notice, maybe I'm issuing the notice prior to a month, or say for example, where in advance of 20 days. So in that case, I may not enclose the agenda. But when I'm issuing near around the time of meeting, that means within 7 minutes prior to the 7 days of the meeting, then my agenda has to be enclosed there with that. So in those cases, I will enclose the agenda item. Otherwise, I will not. So it depends when you are issuing the notice. That is the crux. So this option may or may not be there. Next, the parameter, essential parameter, which I told you, is about giving the option of electronic participation, that whether they can participate through the electronic mode or not. And lastly, we write kindly make it convenient to the attend the meeting, means giving an option to them to attend the meeting, which is being called by the management. So altogether, you can see there is no much big task involved in drafting the minutes, you can say the notice of the meeting, but all about the uses of parameter, uses of legal provision, uses of the provisions of secretarial standards, uses of some common informations while issuing such notice. Now that we had understood the first menu is done, what you were saying, we understood the ingredients, we understood the how to prepare this recipe, the entire thing has come into our mind. The next vital things which comes into our mind is all about then agenda, that how we go about the agenda, how we prepare it, what is this agenda, what is this agenda item, because sir, to our mind, our provisions, what we have read under the Companies Act 2013 so far, there is nowhere mentioned about the agenda, nowhere it talks about the agenda, nowhere it discusses about the agenda. So sir, how I can go about it when it doesn't discuss about the agenda? Because this question will quite obvious will come into your mind, sir, what is all this agenda about? When the law doesn't say anything, how can I go about saying this agenda or not? What is agenda? I'm coming to know from you only. Many of you must be thinking this. Sir, you are the one who is telling us that the agenda is something. So on the agenda, I will say agenda is basically the discussion points. In short words, please write down the agenda is the discussion of, agenda is the points for discussion. Like the items which we will discuss it. Very good. Many of you are answering it. People are suggesting list of transactions which will be transacted in the business. Yes, because see, I will, in my word, I will say without agenda, the meeting lose its direction. Without agenda, the meeting will not be able to be convened properly. So the agenda has to be there. Like in our annual general meeting, our law says there are 3 items that will go to the shareholders. What are the 3 items? Adoption of accounts, right? That is the first one. The declaration of dividend, that is the second one. And the director's appointment, that is the third one. That will go to the AGM for sure. Auditor's appointment goes once in 5 years, because then after there will be continuation. So now every AGM you will say these 3 common points, ADA. So for the general meeting, the law does say about the general items, general matters. But for the board meeting, there is no such specific agenda at all. But our secretarial standard, which I was talking about, the secretarial standard 1, do suggest the agenda items. So what is the secretarial standard 1 all about says agenda? It says, I'm sure that you must be thorough with your theoretical part, that agenda must be circulated 7 days in advance. So sir, do we need also to follow something while answering this like agenda and circulation? Yes, there are again 3 things which you need to be in your mind. First is all about circulation, again when to circulate it. Second, it should be backed by agenda note, because merely giving the agenda will not help your directors to achieve or to reach the conclusion, right? Because they cannot conclude or they cannot discuss in threadbare unless or until the agenda note is there. So agenda has to be there with the agenda note, right sir? We understood for this with the agenda note. Then we again, sir, we need to do something. Yes, there are certain items which may come as a shorter agenda items, and that will be taken up at the meeting. So you need to take those items also, whether there is any merging items for this. So this is what the pathway I have shown. Again, this is the new menu. We have discussed the first one, the notice. The second menu is we discussing about the agenda. Now again, the next question will emerge into your mind. Sir, tell us the key ingredients which we will require to prepare this menu as well. For this menu, there are key ingredients like, first, you should know the items. items means list of items which we will discuss in the meeting whatsoever, whether it's a board meeting or whether it's a shareholder meeting. So the first, the items should be in your mind. Okay, sir. Now understood the first ingredient items we understood. What is the next? Next, as I told you, agenda notes, that how you will give a brief of the agenda. Say, for example, I am saying, let this Ravi Verma be appointed as a director in the company. Now you need to give a brief profile, the background of Ravi Verma. Otherwise, how as a director I will understand, and how as a director I will take a call whether to appoint that person as a director or not. So that will be required for the purpose of giving some more information to the directors. Next, third question comes, is all about how I will prepare the agenda note or how I will get the agenda note. The agenda note you will get by way of preparing it in consultation with the people. By consulting with the people. How I will consult with the respective head. Say, for example, I am giving the budget information. So for budget information, you need to speak to the financial head, you need to speak to the financial controller, speak to them and prepare a agenda note on the same. It is not the responsibility of ourselves to prepare the agenda note. Don't take me in that way that even I will be required to prepare agenda note. No, agenda note will be prepared from the respective divisions. But our job is to ensure whether agenda note is in order or not, whether the agenda notes are properly drafted or not. Sir, why should I take it? When you say all this, why should I do all this? I will not do, sir. Why? It is not related to my profession or not demanding or not commanding my job. Then I will say again, you are going wrong. Because under the law, there is a requirement that you have to ensure no price sensitive information should be shared outside unless or until it is decided at the board. So if your agenda notes are not taking care of all these measures, like they may write something which is exaggerating some issue. They may write something which is not factually correct. They may write something which, if goes at the wider level, may give a wrong signal to the market. So in that case, you need to correct the agenda notes properly. So that is the next command in this. Then check whether these items are permissible or not. Like as I told you, these are the common points. As I told you in the notice also, check whether the meeting has that power to decide or not. So similarly here, you need to check whether it's a permissible item or not. So these are the key ingredients which you will do for the purpose of preparing the agenda. So after preparing agenda, what next comes into mind is that, after preparing all this, the agenda and everything, another thing which is coming into my mind is how I draft it. Again, we know the menu, we know the recipe. How I will draft it, sir. And does it require really the draft skills? My answer will be affirmative. Yes, it does require, and it will require a lot of things to be taken care of, because agenda is always considered to be very, you can say, sensible document for the entire purpose. So continuing with this, it requires a lot of things, how I will take care of all this. The first is that you need to understand the objective of the meeting. Objective of the meeting, this means for what the meeting is being called. Because that agenda item should be sensitive, that should be at the priority list. Say, for example, I am calling for a merger. I'm going for a merger and acquisition, and I'm calling a meeting for the merger and acquisition. So I need to have that agenda item properly at the upfront. That's the first thing, to ensure the objective of meeting is covered adequately. Second, and I'm sure that you all are jotting down, because I cannot assure, I can assure you that after this, you will say, yes, we are thorough with the agenda preparation, notice preparation, the agenda notes, resolutions, minutes, everything will be done. So my concern, what was coming to you, is that you should jot down while we are discussing these aspects or these points. So the first is all about the objective. Now you know the objective, you know the agenda item which is vital, should be covered adequately. The next item comes is the segregation of agenda item. Segregation means it's chronology, and now chronology is in trend, it's trending. So we should know the chronology. Like you should have a flow of agenda items category wise. Sir, what is this category wise and everything? What are you saying? I'm saying, say for example, I'm discussing first agenda item number obviously will be, you should have something in mind that there are 2 or 3 agenda items which are fixed that will come up front. What are those items? To give leave of absence, to elect the chairman, to confirm to note the minutes of the last meeting. So these are the 3 or 4 points which will come at the very beginning. Post this, say for example, I have given the agenda item relating to the, you say, accounts, that I will approve the quarterly accounts. Now that is item number 5. Then I'm saying item number 6 is to discuss on the notices received under section 184. You know that the directors, whenever there is a change or whenever there is an interest in any item, the director will give the notice. So then you are saying you are coming to the section 184. Then again you are giving an agenda item to consider the statement of related party transaction. which is again more or less related to the financial aspect. So here you see, if I give you the agenda by this flow, you will certainly go here and there. You will not be able to correlate. So directors will be like getting triggered down between the financial aspect, then statutory, then operational. So better way is to maintain the chronology, maintain the segregation. Like I have discussed the operational item first, then I have discussed the financial item, then I have discussed the compliance item. This way, it will make the directors to understand the things very well. So I always say the best way is OFC, operational items, financial items, compliance item. Directors will be very easy to correlate it. Now, sir, we understood this objective and the segregation. Beside this, there are some other things. When you prepare agenda, first compare it to previous agenda items. Sir, why to compare it to previous agenda items? Because you may have missed some of the agenda items which was covered in the last. And how you have drafted it will give you that impression, because there has to be uniformity. And the company, all the company, you will notice it, follow the uniformity in the agenda items. Like you cannot say this time I have drafted the agenda like this English, the next quarter I have drafted the agenda items in another way. It cannot happen. It has to be in the same way, right? It has to be maintained in the same sequence, same everything. Sir, then if I follow the same thing, sir, how I will go about, like you are saying follow the previous agenda item. So does that mean that I will not update it? No, you will update your agenda for sure, but comparing it with the previous agenda item is only for one thing, that is to ensure that you are not missing any vital part. Next comes, okay sir, we understood this, we will include. What are the other things that we need to have in mind? Check the correspondence minutes of the last meeting. Why we need to check the minutes of last meeting? You will say, sir, these are why we need to discuss. You just tell us the drafting, Mona. See, you cannot become good at drafting unless or until your hand skills or writing skills or your vocabulary is very strong, right? I'm just giving a common example that when we are deliberating a speech, when we are writing something, I will not be good unless or until I'm having a good collection of words, I'm having a good collection of vocabulary with me. So for the drafting of these notice, agenda, etc., also you need to be very thorough with minute requirement. So you need to check the minutes as well. Now, sir, why I will check the minutes? Because if, say, for example, there is any item which was discussed in the minutes and left for discussion for the next meeting, that we will discuss this item in the next meeting, then you will be able to cover up it in this meeting. You will be able to cover up it in the agenda item. And that is why the reason is that you need to check the minutes of last meeting. So these are the reason, right? Now next comes, sir, we understood that these are the things that we have included. Beside this, is there anything that we need to do? Yes, obviously, you need to ensure that it should be supported with the agenda notes. Agenda notes in the sense, it should be having that, let's say, for example, a proper, well backed with the supporting papers. As I told you, the agenda notes should be there. Then circulation in advance for better clarity, because the law mandates, the Secretarial Standard 1, which is mandatory, mandates its circulation 7 days in advance. But tell me one point, like if I go for the 7 days in advance at all, maybe I will circulate it on the 7th day itself to ensure that only I have complied with the law. And that I say always that is called as absolute adequate compliance. That means you are doing whatever required on the paper. So I always suggest follow something in a spirit way. You should circulate well in advance, maybe more than 7, maybe 10, 12. So this is again called for the sake of better clarity, for making the other side to understand the requirement of all these issues. Sir, we understood. So that means we should circulate well in advance. Like many people are answering, see, minimum requirement is 7 days as per law, but better is that you circulate it in maybe 10, 12, whatever you feel like. There is nothing like that. It should be 10. There is only, it should be 7. So now, sir, we understood the recipe. We understood how it should be drafted. Can you just show us the final outcome, that how it is looking like? Can we smell it? What are the menu we have prepared today? Yes, we all can see. This is the draft layout of the agenda. You see here, as I was telling you, the first item will be appointing the chairman. If chairman appointing item again, whenever you are prepared, there are minute thing. When you will join the company, you will remember me that if you are very careful in whatever we are discussing today, the first day you will not feel difficult, because when you are drafting the notes, agenda items, when to have this item or not, because this is the item you may not find in the company. So you will start jumping. Oh my God, I have attended a e-EDP session of sir, and he told me this item will be there. I'm not finding it. The reason being, if say for example, I have appointed a person as a chairperson for my entire meetings, irrespective of whatsoever I'm doing, irrespective, then there is no need to write down this item again and again every meeting. So that gets reduced. The second is to grant leave of absence. That is a crucial item, and that will come in every meeting. So these are the items like chairman granting leave. So these I'm saying the first meeting, the board meeting, first board meeting of the company, the specimen of that. But had it be the second meeting, then also the noting of minutes will come. Like here you will see they are writing to take note of the memorandum and article. There you will see to take note of the minutes of the meeting. So these 3-4 are the common items, and then it goes on. It starts prepared with in a brief, crispy way what is to do. Say for example, when there is an item which requires approval from the board, never write approval, because writing the board to approve, then that means the board, you are mandating the board has to consider it. Approved item should only be there when there is a mandate, when there is a requirement. Say here you will see the point number 14. Just read the sentence: to approve entering into the agreements with depository for dematerialization of the shares. Why I am writing the word to approve? Because the law mandates the depositories will not enter into an agreement unless or until I have the approval from the board. So this is the reason, main reason, the crucial reason that I am having this agreement and then entering into the agreement with the depository from the board approval. Here I am writing to approve, right? That means they have to do the mandate under the law. Otherwise, if you see the point number 8 and 9, to consider appointment of additional directors. Here I am saying to consider, not to appoint, to consider. That means it is the willingness of the board to decide whether to appoint or not, right? So these are the small things, but at the end, it will need a lot of your mind applications. Sir, the way you are saying, that means now we are at least developing a sense of feeling that yes, preparing the notice agenda is not only the drafting of English and not only the drafting of the provisions, rather its applicability of mind in 360-degree horizon, right? I'm sure that you all are able to understand that what I'm saying, where to write to consider, where to write to approve, where to write to take note of, because as I told you, the minutes to be taken on record, because minutes you're not approving, because why the reason? Minutes already confirmed by you within 30 days of the meeting. If you remember, जो आप लोग भूल जाते हो, that under the law it is written that the board minutes should be approved within 30 days. So that means it happened within 30 days. Nothing can prohibit you. So in these cases, the 30 days requirement. Thank you so much. The messages for in between. Thank you. So why again going back, taking note, why this item is just for noting and nothing else. It's already approved. Minutes already approved within 30 days of the minutes meeting. You can't approve it again. That's why I'm writing to take note of. So just understand. Today onwards, we will be very specific with the usage of our words. Where to write to note, where to write to consider, where to write to approve. Right? So this is a simple layout of the draft agenda which you are seeing on the screen. So once we are with the earlier part, that is your notices, then we have done the agenda. Now we will come to the minutes. One by one menu we are doing. So we have done 2 recipes. Now we are coming to the minutes. Minutes, sir, we all know, to our word, it is of minutes generally are prepared for every meeting. What are those meetings? Sir, the meetings we are prepared for it is that we prepare the minutes for the board meeting. We prepare the minutes for the general meeting. Yes, absolutely right. It is prepared for the board. It is prepared for the general meeting. And it is basically containing the decisions of the board and the general meeting. Means whatever we have discussed in minutes at the meeting, a summary or proceedings of that meeting. So that means it is a recorded, you can say, script of the meeting. When we discuss something, like say for example, I am saying you something. So how you will get authenticated that I have said this after the meeting, a transcript of the same, and getting it signed from the chairperson of that meeting or maybe the next meeting, right? That is the purpose of, you can say, that is the main reason why the meetings are prepared. So sir, in meetings also there are some chronology of that legal requirement is involved. Yes, this remains there also. What is this? You have to be very careful about its circulation, because meeting is required to be circulated in draft form within 15 days of the meeting. That means after the meeting, immediately within 15 days, you will prepare the draft and it will contain all your decision and it will be circulated amongst entire directors. And if they have any observation, they will give their comment and then it will be confirmed. So sir, we understood that circulation of all the decision and they have to confirm, means give the comments, otherwise it will be confirmed. Sir, one thing coming to the mind, when you say it is basically a recorded transcript of the discussion. So will we write everything there? Whatsoever we discuss. Say for example, in between the meeting is going on, I have just asked the bearer, okay, please come here and bring a glass of water. Just will I record that also? No, quite sensible. The minutes have to be prepared in a lucid manner. The brief, you can say the main purpose of the debate, the minutes should be there. It should be concise. It should be related only to the agenda items, and more so, it should be informative. Means after reading, one should get a fair enough idea of the matter. Okay, sir. Now we got it. So, sir, here also let's start this recipe. Let's first collate our key ingredients and then we will go ahead. Yes, I will follow your order. Let's have the key ingredients first. What are the key ingredients? First, evidence. Minutes are treated as evidence. We all know under the law, the minutes are treated as evidence. So, if say for example, if anything is written in the minutes and it is signed, then the court takes a cognizance of the same as evidence, and any measures, penalty measures, or any consequential measures can be taken on the basis of minutes. It will be taken. So minutes are more or less like evidence. So sir, when it is evidence, then we need to be very careful. Yes, and that is why this menu is very crucial. This menu is like you are preparing gulab jamun, which is very difficult, a tough kind of. Sir, how you are so good in this chef kind of things only? That's a secondary matter. Let's come back to our topic. So that is what I'm saying, that evidence, since it is evidence, we need to be careful about small thing. We need to be careful that when we are writing, all the agenda notes should be in hand, right? That is why evidence I refer to. The agenda notes should be in hand. Second, who all attended the meeting, the details of attendees. Sir, there is a way. Is there any way how we will get attendance? Yes, attendance register. I will tell you the way also. From which market you can get this vegetable, right? So attendance register you can refer to. Sir, is there anything else we need to keep in mind? Yes, we need to keep in mind the assent and dissent of the directors. Like when we are discussing some matter, maybe one of the director may have dissented to the particular item. One of the directors may not have consented to the item. So there we need to write down his dissent very carefully. Is it so? Yes, we need to record his dissent in the minutes, right? So that's why the recording of assent and dissent should be very careful. And that is why the company secretary who sits in the board of directors, because you all are knowing that under the section 2, subsection 51, being a key managerial person, the company secretary has an additional responsibility to sit with the board of directors for ensuring whether their attendance or whether their recording, whether their transcript discussion is recorded in a proper form or not. So that is the responsibility, key responsibility of a CS, the company secretary of the company. So now post this, when we have discussed this, next question again will be coming in your mind. Sir, again the question remains same. You have given us the key ingredients. Now how we prepare it? What are the things we should be careful about while discussing about the minutes? Yes, I will take you now through one by one the key items which you need to be careful about, like what you should do, what you shouldn't, while preparing the minutes. And thereafter we will see the final layout of the minutes, that how it is prepared. So now let's go into preparing it. First, as I told you, agenda papers keep in hand, ready handy, because most of the things should be go in flow with the agenda, because the items were taken up like the agenda items. So that should be there first, taking a note from there. Then next comes a proper noting, like how I will get it noted. Say maybe I have the agenda items in hand, but will I write 2-page agenda, 3-page agenda? Maybe my operational team has given me 6-page agenda. Sir, listen me. My agenda list, you can say people, they have given me 6-page agenda, sir. Operational team. So will I write to operational team 6-page agenda in the minutes? No. It is your application that 6-page you will trim into maybe 6 lines or maybe 6 paragraphs, depending on the sensitivity of the discussion. See, again, don't think it's like your answer script, because in answer script of the institute we always think like that, sir, itna bada likhe, sir, ki chota likhe. Sir, should I write 1 page? Sir, should I write 2 page? Sir, the question mark is of 8 marks, so I think, sir, I should write 2 pages. Sir, question is of 2 marks only, so I think 3 or 4 lines will do. So it's not like that here. It's like that when you are drafting, depending on the sensitivity of item, you should draft in a proper way. Proper noting should be there. Brief write-up. And minutes are always written in the past tense. That you first write. Why past tense? Because whenever you will open it, it will say some story. Like the board discussed the matter. The board discussing, not discussing. The board discussed the matter. The board approved the result. It was informed to the board. A presentation was made to the board. So all this should be in past tense. Right? That is another thing that you should be careful about. Sir, beside this, there is any other requirement? Yes, minutes are very crucial. So there are so many things you need to be careful while preparing the minutes. Then you all know agenda notes, etc. should be signed. We all know under the law, it is a requirement again to get it properly signed and then placing it. How come, sir? What exactly it is? Like how I will get it signed? The law says whenever you will have this, what exactly you need to? You need to ensure that under the law, it says whenever you are having the agenda notes placed at the meeting, these agenda notes should be signed. So whatever you are writing in the minutes should be supported by some signed documents. Even if not signed, at least you should have some authenticity to say that it has come from this person, maybe over the mail. Because when you are writing in the minutes and circulating it, say for example, as a director, I challenge your write-up and I ask you, why you are writing this? why you have written this, who has asked you to written this. Now what you will say? You will say, no sir, we have got this information somewhere, I remember it. You can't say it like this. So in that case, you need to ensure that these things comes to you duly authenticated. That should be there. While writing, you should use the proper name. You should mention the exact place, because see, when you are mentioning the name, mentioning the place, it should be correct in the minutes. Why again I'm not repeating my line again and again? Otherwise you people will be bored and will say, sir, aap kitna pakaoge? Because already we are pakawing some menu. So I'm not repeating that minutes are conclusive evidence. That's why the reason that you have to use the proper name. Like I'm just giving my example. My name is Ravi Verma. By this time you must be knowing this, I'm sure. So people do write VERMA, but I write VARMA. So why I'm highlighting these issues? When you're drafting the minutes, the spelling of the word, the name, the spelling of the character should be very careful, and it should be factually correct. So these things you need to have in your mind. Then legal requirement. Yes, because in minutes, the legal requirement is very much essential. Why essential? This I will cover in the part of resolution drafting. So I leave this legal requirement part for continuation for discussion during discussing the resolution part. When we'll discuss the resolution part, I will take up this matter that how you will draft this resolution, what are the things you need to include. So this I will be covering in the resolution, but legal requirements should be checked. So after knowing all this, now we have got ingredients. Now we know how the process is going about. What are the minute things? Sir, as you told, I have the agenda notes in hand. As you told, I have the brief write-up in hand. As you told, I have the attendance register in hand. As you told, I'm very careful about the names and places. I have checked the minutes of the last meeting also to keep it in tandem. Now, sir, can you just tell us about the draft of this entire minutes? Yes, why not? I will tell you. Just see on the screen. Now we will have a quick idea about the minutes. Just see. First, we are writing the minutes of which meeting? Why I'm writing first? Because serial number will go on. Again, remember it, serial number should be there, right? So that's the reason I'm writing, whether it's the first, whether it's the second, whether it's the third, whether it's the fourth. Then I'm writing about the company name. Then I'm writing where it is held. Then I'm writing day and date, and then a complete kind of attendance. So this why we need to give here, because once it is there in the attendance of register, and this question will come into your mind, and that's why I told you to bear with me, so that before your question, I will keep answering from my side, because otherwise you people will develop this kind of a mindset. He says, sir, one question. Why we are writing again and again here the present, attendance, all? Because sometime back only, just 15, 20 minutes or maybe half an hour back, you only told us that there has to be attendance register in which attendance is given. So why I'm writing this here again, sir? I do not understand. Then I will say again that attendance register is not a conclusive evidence in the eyes of law. But once it is recorded in the minutes, it becomes conclusive evidence, right? So see the chronology, see the logical reason for covering it here in the minutes also. So you have to give the attendance of those attending. Those who are attending as a director, they are always quoted in the present because their requirement is required by the law. Why we write sir in attendance, right? The minutes in attendance is required for every invitee, because the directors are supposed to attend the meeting. Like in our school days or still in our college life, there used to be attendance. We used to say present, yes. Why we used to say present? Because we were supposed to attend that class. So here the directors have the responsibility. They need to attend this class on a regular basis. It is their duty, and that's why they give it as their attendance. So director will give the attendance. Now, directors will give the present. Now question comes, why in attendance? In attendance is for those invitee. Invitee means I may invite somebody to attend the meeting. Say for example, my board meeting is going on. I wanted a person to come and give a presentation on a particular division of my company. Say I'm making chocolates. I asked my foods division to make a brief presentation on the chocolate. So he came and made a presentation. So I will write the person of the name in attendance, and then the company secretary's name. Right? So now you got the logic. Those who are not understanding the logic, some people were not able to understand the logic. Why we break up? Why we are saying present, attendance, and company secretary? Now I'm sure you must be sure that why we are segregating this into present, attendance, and company secretary. Correct? So this is done. Then how the minutes flows goes on? It goes on. First again, there are some routine items. First is all about the quorum. Sorry, chairman. Again, this item. See the word and write it. This you need to write it, because first it is writing Mr. So-and-so was elected. Don't presume it you will write in every meeting. Why, sir? Because 17 minutes back I told you that if a person is appointed as a chairman for a particular long time period, say for example, I have appointed a person as a chairperson for 10 years. So I shouldn't write again and again was re-elected. I will straight away write Mr. So-and-so chaired the meeting. That means there was no requirement of election. Election to the chairperson will only happen if and only if I require to appoint a chairperson in that place. Otherwise, election to the chairperson will not happen every time. That is not required to be included. So in case where the chairman is not elected, then I will write the chairman to be elected and Mr. So-and-so was elected. Otherwise, I will not write. Okay, sir, we got it. This idea. It's a wonderful idea that you have told us. We need to be very careful where to write elected or whether to write chair the meeting. Now, any other items which are to be covered in the minutes specifically? Yes, the next item is all about the quorum. It's a quorum. Quorum, you all know under the law we have studied from the very beginning. When you join this course, I'm sure the first item you must have studied is that 1 or 2, whichever is high, right? So that quorum you should write. Why quorum you should write? Because unless or until you confirm the quorum, that whether there was a quorum or not, that means the meeting validity is not there. If there is no quorum, there is no meeting at all valid. And if there is a quorum, then yes, the meeting has been properly convened, conducted, and concluded. Right? And that is why, now you will understand the 3C principle. I told you many like OFC, agenda items, now I'm telling you 3C funda. Properly convened, conducted, concluded. Convened means you have given proper notice, proper agenda. Conducted means proper quorum is there, right? And concluded is that when all the matters will be discussed. So second item is quorum. The third item, you will write about the leave of absence. That to whom you are giving the leave of absence. That Mr. So-and-so, say for example, X, Y, Z are directors. Z is not attending. So I'm writing the leave of absence was granted to Mr. Z, right? Who expressed his opinion, his inability to attend the meeting due to his prior commitment or owing to his pre-occupation. That English is up to you. Now, why we need to write here also, I will take you back to the legal requirement. Because under the law, the vacation section says categorically 169 that if you are not attending board meeting for 12 months without taking leave of absence, or with taking leave of absence even, nowadays even with taking of leave of absence is allowed. So you will be deemed to vacate the office, means you are not a director anymore. So this gives a record, a mind, noting in the board again and again that yes, this person is not attending the meeting, so we need to remind him. Otherwise, after 12 months, the chair will become the vacate. He has to vacate the office of director after 12 months. So that is the mandatory requirement to give the leave of absence. Somebody has asked me, I think in between somebody has missed the line of 3C. The 3C I refer to is properly convened, properly conducted, and properly concluded. Convened means giving a proper notice. Conducted means ensuring there is a proper quorum, and then concluded means it's got successfully completed. That means meeting ended with all the agenda item being discussed. So that are the 3 C's. Now, sir, in minutes, as you said, it is written in past tense. Can we see some example? Yes. Just see the number para 2. The business before the meeting was taken up. That means referring to the past scenario, and that is why it is written in the past. So what are else things that are covered in the minutes? Let's get some idea. Today we are seeing the minutes, and we are liking it a lot. But then, sir, at least we should understand: do we need every time to have this included it or not? Next comes the reference of the notes. Like you see in the screen point number 9, I have made a reference to the agenda note. That reference was made to Mr. XYZ's note dated so and so as circulated. Now see why I'm including this, because in minutes, as I told you, when we are discussing the agenda, when we were discussing the notice, I told you one thing: agenda note should be signed, so that you will have a backup to say in the minutes, and that is why this backup is being used. Let's see why. Because instead of writing the entire story of yours, because my note may be 4-pager, but why will I write 4-page? So I have given the reference. The reference was made to this, dated so and this as circulated. And then I will write some story that the chairman proposed that Mr. So-and-so be having PIN number D and hereby appointed as director. If you can see on your screen, I'm sure you all are able to see on your screen. See, the chairman proposed that Mr. So-and-so having PIN number and Mr. So-so having this PIN number be appointed additional director in terms of the section 161 of the Companies Act, and brief profiles along with their consent to act there was placed. This is again a second item, but what I'm writing is a narration. It is called preamble. Write it, preamble, P-R-E-M-B-L-E, preamble. Why we write preamble? Preamble is written to ensure that the minutes are for what item we are discussing. Because in every item, see, we will pass a resolution whenever the board approval is required, or whenever some approval will be required, we will pass the resolution, right? I will say that, say for example, I'm appointing the director. So I will write a resolution, resolve that Mr. So-and-so be and is hereby appointed director. I will discuss the resolution just after this. But that is the resolution part. But how can I straight away talk about the resolution in the minutes? So first, I need to highlight a short preamble, and which is called preamble. P-R-E-A-M-B-L-E. Preamble. Why preamble? To give a brief highlight. Here it is preamble. The chairman proposed that Mr. So-and-so be appointed as a director. This is preamble. Now, thereafter the preamble, there will come a resolution, which I will discuss in the next part. Resolution. That resolve that Mr. So-and-so be and is hereby appointed as a director. And this is called a resolution. Sir, is there any difference between preamble and resolution? Yes. Resolution is your approval. Preamble is a discussion. Right? I'm sure that you all are getting it through. Now, sir, you say the minutes is drafting in your entire past tense. Is there any rule for the resolution as well? Yes, there is a rule. I will tell you in the next when we'll discuss about the resolution. So basically, this is in short all about the minutes drafting essentials. What we should have in our mind when we are drafting the minutes. Every resolution should be supported by the preamble at the very beginning. Correct? Next comes resolutions. I will take you now with the resolutions, and I'll tell you here that how the resolutions are drafted or how the things are taken care of while drafting the resolution. Resolution is all about when we write resolve that, whatever we are writing, resolve that subject to this, resolve that this, resolve that this, will all be covered up under the resolution part. Right? Now, you will understand the resolution can again be of two types. The one resolution which we are passing in the board and the one we are passing into the general meeting. Sir, why they are of two types? Because you are discussing in two different meetings. Sir, is this the only reason? That just because I'm discussing the two meetings, you are saying it will be two types? No, I will defer thoda sa here. Because what I'm saying that why the reason being of telling here two types of drafts I will require or two types of resolution I will require. Only reason is that when I am saying that, say for example about the board meeting or general meeting, when I'm passing the resolution at board meeting, I need to ensure whether the board has a power or not. These are the essential of the draft. You will say, sir, everywhere it is so much required, we need to follow all these things. Yes. Now see, first we need to ensure whether we are meeting the route map or not. It says very categorically, you need to check authority. And second, you need to check requirement. Means whether there is any requirement for this approval or not. Maybe say for example, somewhere the law doesn't say anything. Like I'm just giving a weird example. You are trying to plant trees, 10 trees in front of your registered office. Will you pass that matter in the board? Obviously not, because these are not item for discussion at the board level. So check the requirement whether it requires approval or not. And then, if at all required, whether they have the authority or not. Right? So these are the route map. Then again, we go back to our menu things, menu of funda. We will need some key ingredients. What are the key ingredients here? Sorry. What are the key ingredients here? You can see on your screen. First, I need to be very thorough about the provisions. When you draft the resolution, because we are talking about the very much vital part of the entire you can say drafting scheme, that is resolution. One, we need to be very careful about the provisions. Second, delegation. And third, enabling power. That means first check whether the provisions allow me for this approval or not before drafting the resolution. Because you need to write the extract of provisions also. Say for example, I'm passing a resolution under section 203. I need to mention the section 203 there. I need to give a reference of 203. Otherwise, just drafting the resolution will not help. Right? So first, I need to ensure. I'm not able to see the screen. Key ingredients. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So key ingredients. First, you need to ensure that provisions should be covered. Second, you should be sure about delegation. How I will delegate. Say for example, I'm passing a resolution at board. I should delegate. If I can delegate the powers to my directors individually, I can delegate it or not. Because every time, say, whenever you are passing the resolution by the board, thereafter you will do this work. Say you want to set up a new office in the same city. Means you want to open a new city, a new office. I have given the board approval to open a new office. Now, the person, the registrar of the land, is asking that whether you have a power to sign this document or not. Then what I will show? Then in that case, you need to show the authority. You need to show the board resolution stating the name of yours, saying that even you have the power to sign these documents. Even you have the power to sign the application. Even you have the power to sign this form. And that is why the reason that these resolutions are formed or drafted in such a way that if possible, the power can be delegated. Right? Third is that enabling power. That means enabling power comes when you go to the shareholders. Say under the law, there are certain items. If you remember it, section 180, which deals with the borrowing, right? Borrowing power. Section 186, where you exceed the investment limit. Section 185, loan to directors. Section 188, the related party transactions. So if you are going in these kind of transactions where you may happen to trigger the event, then it's better to take some blanket approval. Means enabling power to the board. Say I'm going for a borrowing. Section 180 allows me for borrowing. They says if your borrowing exceeds better capital and free reserve, go to the shareholders. I went there. Then in that case, take a enabling power. Say for example, if your borrowing requirement is 100 crore, take a resolution for 150, 200, so that another 100 is buffer in your hand and it is lying in the hands of board of directors of your company. And this will enable your company to run smoothly. And that is why the resolutions needs to be drafted so well, so thoroughly, so dedicatedly. Sir, now we understood key ingredients, we understood. Like what are the things required, we understood. Now, sir, again, our common question remains the same. How to draft it? How we can get it drafted so well? Yes, obviously, I will tell you, like we were discussing so many things here also, I will tell you the strategy of drafting it so well. How I can draft it? First, I need to examine that who is passing this resolution. Means who is the one who will approve this resolution? Who is the authority who is passing this resolution? Whether it's passed by the board, whether it's passed by the shareholder. If I know it's getting passed by the board, then second rule you can see on the slide is to check whether the board has the authority or not. Say, as I mentioned, borrowing power. If it exceeds better capital free reserve, you have to go to the shareholder. I'm just giving a common example. That say your borrowing is presently 50 crore and your better capital free reserve is also 50. So now you are at the neck. Out of it, I am going for additional borrowing for 100 crore. Can my board pass this resolution? Yes or no? Can my board pass? Simply saying, I will say no, because I have reached the limit. So here we need to ensure that the one who is passing has the authority or not. Otherwise, your entire resolution and drafting is null and void. So that is the second thing. Now, third thing, while drafting the resolution, it should be in present tense. Sir, you are making too much of confused. You are saying minutes should be drafted in past. You are saying resolution to be drafted in present. Sir, anything left for future sentence also? Yes, you should write your career in future sentence. Correct? The rest of the things, past, present, and the future, you are going to write yourself. And that will determine your goal, your objective. So now you will remember three tenses also. The past tense is for minutes, present tense is for resolution, and future tense is for yourself. Sir, thank you, sir. You are motivated, but we need to continue this motivation for long till we achieve the goal, and thereafter also to strive the sustainability. Yes, sir. So now coming back again, it should be written in present tense. Now, after present tense, sir, anything else is required? The requisite for the resolution? Yes, the requisite for the resolutions are also there. Like you need to have the preamble, which we just discussed 6 or 7 minutes back only. We discussed about the preamble as well. Preamble means giving a brief outline of the resolution. Because otherwise, if I pass the resolution only 1, 2, 3, 4, first is for CS, second is for CFO, third is for director, nobody will understand after reading this. We need to understand it one by one, that what exactly this resolution is for, and this will come into the preamble. And preamble, being a part of the minutes, will be written in past or present, which tense? Let me see whether you are just saying me thanks for the sake or you really got through this knowledge. People have started replying. Yes, very good. Thank you. So preamble should be in the past because it is a part of minutes, and resolution will be in present. Thank you so much. So these things again will be required. And finally, to check legal requirement, because legal requirement in the sense whether adequately all the provisions are covered it or not. So after knowing this, that how we prepare now, sir, can you just, again, we are disturbing you a lot, but then can you just show us that, sir, what exactly the resolution is and how the resolution is drafted, how you are drafting these? Sir, just show us the sample, please, sir, please. Yes, I will show you. Just see, I have taken a draft resolution for appointment of company secretary. Means I'm discussing on this resolution aspect, the appointment of company secretary. And here I will discuss all about this thoroughly. We are going to discuss here from the very beginning, except for the notice, from agenda to the minutes. Everything will be covered here in this one only. Now let us finally go through that how much of drafting skills we have improved so far. You can see on the screen there is a resolution. There is a resolution passed for the appointment of company secretary. Just read the first line. It is all about reference was made to this note, right? Now let's second para. The chairman advised the board that it is proposed to appoint so and so who holds the prescribed qualification as the company secretary of the company. Third is all about resolution. Now let me ask you one by one. What is this called? What is this para? Is there any name of this para? Very good, absolutely. Thank you. It is preamble. And it is written in which sentence? Absolutely, very good, very good. Thank you so much. It is written in past tense. Past tense. Some people, I think one or two people were sleeping while I was saying something. They are written in present. It cannot be present. Preamble should be in past. Highlighted para in the screen is a preamble, which says that it was discussed. And now see, it is again a part of the minutes, which says the chairman advised, again past, that it is proposed. Means again proposing. Why we writing all these proposals and all? Because I told you at the very beginning, you cannot ask the board straight away to approve. Otherwise, it looks like the chairman is forcing on the board. So we use the word kind of a proposed, recommended. Like when I propose something or recommend something to us, you will always use this word. You can't say that I approve. So the chairman proposed the board, or recommended the board, or suggested the board, requested the board. There are so many adjectives you can add on regarding the appointment of a company secretary. This is called preamble, giving a crisp information about the company secretary. Now, here in the minutes, as I told you, every item generally it is written, a reference was made to this. Why it is referred? Why they are writing? Why they are referring to this? Why there is a reference of this para reference was made? Because there must have been a resolution coming from, the agenda note coming from the department. Say, yes, people are writing it, answer very good. Say, for example, a person is getting appointed as a company secretary. The HR division has given a note, and the company secretary is having a vast experience. Like my profile was read out to you. Mine not having got vast, but then again, just it was read out to you. So when you are giving this information in a page that he has done this, he has done this, he is like this, he has been served on this, he has done this, all these cannot be written in the minutes. Will you be writing my experience, what I've done, my qualifications, I've done this in the minutes? No, it's of no sense. And that's why a reference is given. And that is why you need to take the agenda notes, properly signed, properly docketed by the respective divisions to enable you to refer it in the minutes so that you have a backup. So sir, understood. That is why this reference and everything is given. The next, as I told you, is all about the preamble, which is written in past. Now coming to the resolution. Let's just have a rough idea of the resolution, what exactly it is. It is saying that resolve that pursuant to section 203 of the Companies Act. Now you must be getting the idea why I was saying that section should be good enough, that you are referring to the particular section. Otherwise, how it is relevant, that why it is required, who is appointing, all things will become irrelevant unless you specify if there is a specific provision, right? That pursuant to the section 203 of the Companies Act, Mr. So-and-so holding the prescribed qualifications under subsection 24 of the Companies Act, B and D is hereby. B and D is hereby means present tense, appointed as a company secretary of the company, right? Now the interesting thing is that a copy of which was initialed by the chairman for the purpose of identification. It is saying that be appointed as a company secretary on the terms and conditions specified in the agreement, which is initialed by the chairperson for the purpose of identification. Why they are writing? Because the reason being they are writing, whenever you are placing any document before the board, it is the requirement. It is a requirement coming from the secretarial standard that the same should be initial. Same should be identified by the chairperson or the company secretary or any director that yes, this document was placed for proper record and documentation. Correct? So this is the requirement coming from section 203 of the Companies Act 2013. Understood? Why we are writing the resolution like this? Yes, sir. Now we are getting it clear. Now, if you read the third para, I will ask, not the second para. Just read the third para. Further is all that dash means any of the director. He and is hereby authorized to sign and file the necessary forms in public documents with the registrar of the companies and make entries as appropriate in the register of the members. Now, why this is required, sir? You told us, we understood, but why this para is coming? Because it has nothing to do with the appointment. So why this para has been included? This para has been included for one reason. What is this one reason, sir? The one reason, people have answered it also. I like it. I must say, you have very good developments. At least I'm happy that you people are learning from this session. So this is coming to enabling power to authorize directors, to authorize further your directors of the company. In fact, since that matter is related to the appointment of company secretary, so the company secretary name is not mentioned. Otherwise, in all resolution, whenever they appoint or whenever they finalize agreement, they also authorize company secretary. That further resolve that director and the company secretary of the company be and is hereby severally authorized. That means individually authorized to sign and file document. Because when I will go to the ROC, when I will appear before anything, then the person will ask me, the first question is that he will ask me that, okay, you are filing this form, but who has authorized you to file this form? Who has given you that authority to file this form? Then I will show this resolution. I will say, sir, it is written here. Now question must be coming in your mind. Sir, one more question. Since you are talking about authority, we generally as a student keep our mind digging into the provisions of the law. Because we are the law, you can say we are very well having interest in the law subjects, have developed our good sense in that. So in that case, sir, please make us understand that how I will further understand too much of things in the sense of resolution. Sir, what exactly other thing? Other thing is that, like this form filing enabling power, many times confusion arises. When you will join practically, you will see they are not filing this, they are not passing this resolution, that further is all that. And that day, you will be taken aback. You will feel like calling me and cursing me over the phone. Sir, you taught us that there will be another resolution, enabling resolution. But here I can't see enabling for form filing. See, for form filing, since these forms are required for day-to-day activities, so it is not necessary to cover it in every resolution. So the third para, the company can pass one-time resolution. Like, say for example, today company will pass that Mr. X, director of the company, Mr. Y, director of the company, Mr. Z, director of the company, and Mr. A, company secretary of the company, be and hereby severally authorized to file all such forms as may be required for the company from day to day, from time to time, for its necessary requirements with the ROC, etc. And this resolution will be valid unless revoked by the board. So that means I pass a one-time blanket resolution, and it will be valid till the time I remove any of the authority or I include any new signatory. Till that time, this resolution will become valid, and this will be good enough to continue with this filing power. However, this is for form filing. But if there is some other matter, like say for example, you are authorizing someone to sign agreement, particular agreement, say for example for land purchase, and you are also giving the power to that person to appear before the registrar of land revenue and pay the stamp duty, etc. So for that, a separate resolution should be covered. This blanket resolution will not cover you. This blanket resolution will only cover you when there are items pertaining to the e-form filing, right? So it depends from day-to-day activities of the company. Like many companies, generally what they do for signing of these agreements to the value of 100 crore for business purchase or business deals, they authorize 2 or 3%. So that remains valid for years and years unless board change. That's called one-time blanket, kind of a omnibus, right? So these are the matters pertaining to the resolution, and it is not necessary that it should be passed in the first board meeting. It is not necessary. It may arise whenever company feels like, say for example, your company doesn't have that much of operation, then why should I pass in the first meeting? I will pass it from time to time. But if my company is in a big operation and is required to file a lot of forms, then I will pass in the first meeting. Similar, like income tax, you all know GST, right? Every one of us knows GST. So for GST return, the company passes a one-time resolution. So the resolution also depends on the test of the matter. Resolution depends on the test of the matter. Like if it can be done with the help of one resolution, then it will do. And if it is not, then I will pass from time to time. Like income tax forms, GST forms, I will pass in the blanket resolution. E-forms with ROC, I will pass in the blanket, right? But suddenly, say for example, tomorrow, a bank has come and said that for the facility of e-banking, you will be required to file this form. That I cannot unless board approves. Because I have a power to file the ROC, I have the power to file the income tax forms. So for these banks forms, if I get the other resolution passed, well and good. Otherwise, take it to the board. So for each different matter, all the different resolution will keep coming. Correct? So these are the requirements for passing this resolution, and we need to apply our mind whether it can be covered by way of blanket, whether it should be covered by way of from time to time. All these things should be taken care of while considering this matters for the purpose of taking it to the board. So sir, this is all about the resolution matters. Yes, this is all about the resolutions matter. So this is what I wanted to emphasize more. I have rather taken more time on the resolution to make sure if you look at the screen, still I will say all the parameters are covered in the one resolution itself. We have covered preamble, this covers the minutes, this covers the noting. We have covered the agenda notes reference, agenda reference. Then the main part, that is a resolution, whether to cover the sections or not, whether to cover the adequate provisions of the law or not, whether to give the enabling power or not, that are all adequately covered in our screenshot which you are seeing on the screen relating to the authorizations. Resolution for appointment of company secretary, whereby authorizations are given to directors as enabling power. Appointment is given in the first resolution itself, and then there is a preamble. So a resolution is mainly a vital part itself for the entire minutes. So now, sir, since very beginning, we have discussed on the provision relating to the notices, how we circulate, it relates to the board, it relates to the general meeting. Then we discuss about the agenda, then we discuss about the agenda notes, then we have gone into the minutes, then we have taken towards the resolution. Sir, anything else left that we need to discuss about? Yes, there are a lot of things left because there is no end to knowledge. But keeping it to the topic, our next I will take you to the is reports. I'll not take much of time here because I'm sure that by this time you people must develop the idea about the normal drafting. Now, before I proceed to the reports, I will say simply a thing will come into your mind. Sir, don't you think that if it is too much of drafting, then I should appoint someone who is very good in English? Because to be very frank, I used to think when I qualified also, I used to think, yeah, itna sara drafting and all. Why don't you appoint someone who is a company secretary and who can look into all these and who is a good, like having good command of our English or vocabulary, everything? Why shouldn't I appoint that person here? So with these things coming into my mind, I developed this sense. But then I gradually realized when I went into the practical insights while continuing my learning, I realized that boss, it's not that easy. Because he may or may not be knowing the facts which I'm discussing with you. He may or may not be knowing the provisions which I'm discussing with you. But we are aware of the provision. We need to be careful. Like I'm telling you now, since our mind has already optimized and you people have already synced with me, so I will be much comfortable to tell you that as per the law requirement, notice part. Okay, just think of notice part. What were the things? Just close your eyes and recollect 3 things: serial number, date and time, venue, and whether it's through provision. Right? Now here I'm telling you, if the meeting is at shorter notice under the law, the shorter notice provision is allowed. So if it is at shorter notice, you have to mention it in the notice itself. What it will be mentioning? That this notice is issued at a shorter notice. You have to write it in the notice itself. Sir, what I'm telling, the other side knows. Let's say, for example, if I'm saying the meeting is on 6th, today is 4th, it is a shorter. Other side knows. He's very intelligent director, sir. No, he may be intelligent, but the law requires that this notice should emphasize the matter, that it is at shorter notice. Because the law doesn't encourage the practice of shorter notice. Right?
Yes, sir. Now we are getting it. The logic why you are saying all this, all the way that it should be this way, it should be this way. So this is the additional thing which you are saying now that I need to add the shorter notice provision as well. Yes. Next question comes in mind that, sir, we understood this, that you since said it very well, that what is the shorter notice provision now for the notice part. Sir, what if my agenda is circulated at shorter notice? Can I circulate it? That again depends on your legal knowledge, because agenda can be taken up at a shorter notice, but with the consent of majority of directors present at the meeting. Means if majority of directors do not permit me that it should be taken up, I can't have this item be taken up. So how I will ensure that this item be taken up? This item I will ensure be taken up by way of saying that if I receive the consents of majority in my hand, I can proceed. If I get the majority in my hand, I will proceed. Right? So these are the things that you only need. So shorter notice, I am telling you right now that how it is impacting your entire drafting. First, it is impacting in the drafting of your notice. Second, it is impacting in drafting of your agenda. Third, it is drafting in your agenda notes. Now coming to the minutes. When you will write the minutes, I discuss about certain provisions. Again, close your eyes and recollect. Sir, whenever you say close your eyes, we fall into our dreams. Not an issue. Even you're falling in dream, it's good. But do dream for something big in your life. Right? So close your eyes. Again think of some key points that while drafting the minutes, sir, we need to write about the chairman to be elected or who chaired the meeting. We need to write about the taking note of the minutes. Some items you said you need to write to consider. Some items you said to write to approve. So we will prepare like this. Right? In the minutes and notice whatever minutes we are drafting, we will take care of all these items. Sir, then we leave of absence we give in the minutes. Yes. Quorum we give in the leave minutes. Yes. Sir, then anything else? If meeting is at shorter notice, then you will write that this meeting was held on shorter notice. That also should be captured in the minutes. So, sir, that means there are small things which can again make us to restart thinking from the very beginning of notice till the end of minutes. Right? Absolutely agree. Clear? So now with this whole things clear, I'm sure that you people are through with me. We have discussed a lot of menus, ingredients. We have prepared the recipe. We have got the flavors as well. But I'm sure that you may be liking it, because the most important thing is that the other side, the guests should like it. Otherwise, it's no use. Now coming to the last, reports. In the reports, what exactly happening is that we need to understand. Reports can be of various types. It can be day-to-day, it can be statutory reports. Statutory reports, when I say statutory reports, that means I have to cover those aspects which are relevant from the provisions of, which are relevant from the perspective of the provisions. And day-to-day means general reports. Like see, I will focus on the statutory report as well. But prior to the statutory reports, I will focus on the day-to-day reports also. Whenever you are preparing day-to-day reports, you should make sure that something should be very carefully observed. Like your report should be brief, your report should be having some key facts, and your report should be very informative. I say the best way to recollect is the IBF. IBF. Now you'll say, sir, what is this IBF? I is the informative. That means whatever report I'm sharing, the other side should get a complete grasp of the knowledge from the report itself. B is the brief. That means it should be short, precise. And F is the facts. Because say from your common perspective only. Means think from your common perspective. Today I'm taking a session. If I do not relate to the topic, or if I'm not confined to the topic, it is not informative then. If I'm not keeping it constructive and presenting you to the conclusive summary, it will not be brief. And if I'm not making you aware of the key aspects, then it is not representing the facts. And if any of these three things is missing, trust me, you will not like it. And forget about you, nobody will like it. Because if I'm talking on some irrelevant topic, you will say, sir, out of the topic. If I'm talking too lengthy, you will say, sir, bakao kya? And if I'm talking about maybe brief, but not giving you the essential information, then by the end of the session, you will say, yeah, attained to kiya, but then miss something, yeah, what exactly the law provision, etc. So in reports also, these three are the key mantras of life. We need to be very informative. We need to present it in very brief. We need to keep confined to the key facts to make the reports crispy and presentable. So that is for the day-to-day reports. Why I went to the day-to-day reports first? There is a logic that why I went to the day-to-day reports. Because being a company secretary doesn't mean that always we will be preparing the statutory report. Maybe at times we will prepare some reports as a management representation, some reports for the internal discussion, some reports as a strategy call, some reports on some particular transaction. Because as a company secretary, you will come in a lot of cases. You will come about a lot of cases. Say for example, as I am a company secretary, my company has asked me, okay, can you just work it out? We want to de-invest some holdings in the subsidiary. How we should go about? So then I will make a report. How I make a report? I'll make a report keeping in mind three things. First, I will make it informative, that it is related to the de-investment. This investment means I'm selling off my equity. So it should be informative. First, second, I will keep it brief. And third, I will give the facts. That means what are the law applicable, whether it can do it or not, and how I can do it. So this is the reason I'm discussing the other area, that is day-to-day reports beside the statutory reports. Now coming to the statutory reports. How come statutory reports play a greater role in our life? Sir, how come it is relevant? Statutory report are of two types. We all know. It is of board report. Another we refer to this shareholders report. Now, sir, here also we always get confused with the board's report and shareholders report. Is there any parameter here we need to take care in our mind, or we need to be careful about? Yes, certainly. Like say for example, board report, we all know the most of the provisions are covered under section 134, which governs the entire preparation of the board report and what are the information to be collected. So here, mostly your legal knowledge plays a wider role in as far as board report is concerned. But at the second time, when you are preparing this corporate governance report, which is presented to the shareholders, or the shareholders report, then you need to be very careful, not about the provisions, but about the governance practices as well. Like as I was discussing with you throughout the year, what is happening into the company, what are the precaution measures you have taken, what are the new drives you have taken, what is your board is doing, what are the key initiative launched during the year, what are the come out of the each and every meetings of the year, any major decision which was taken by the company during the year, any material decision of your board. This is the sole reason that the statutory reports is basically vetted by the company secretary, because company secretary is supposed to act as assistant to the board of directors. I'm again correcting to the board of directors, not to the directors, to the board of directors collectively, who runs the company as a custodian, who runs the company as a trustee for the company. So you are acting as a company secretary to them. Whatever the major decisions they have decided, you being a party to it. And since we have discussed how to draft the minutes and what are the things to be covered, now say for example throughout the year when you have prepared those minutes or when you have jotted down those points, I'm sure a company secretary will have a good fair idea about the company. And at the end of the year, when you will present your report as a master report to the board, which again goes to the shareholder, or a report corporate governance, which again goes to the shareholder. So if you are preparing this, you will be having all the inputs to collate and put it in the reports. At the same time, both these reports, you will also follow the principle of IBF. That means keeping it informative, making it brief and factually correct information. Because any misleading information under 447, 448, 450 will lead to every officer in default, including directors, into a penal provisions. And that is why the company secretary is always regarded as a challenging role. So now, if we again go back and rewind that where we started from the notices of the meeting, sailing through the agenda, then agenda notes, then reaching the minutes, getting into the nitty-gritties of resolution, taking care of resolution items, whether enabling power should be there or not, whether preamble should be there or not, in what tense it is written, why there was a reference of the provision, why there was a delegation of power, was it required or not. Thereafter, we discuss the reports part. And in reports, we already discussed that it should be followed with the basic mindset. Otherwise, there is no standardized format or uniformity of reporting it. It depends from the practices the company follow. And that is why it is always recommended whenever you are getting inducted or appointed in the company, always as a president. First, like in agenda item we discussed, check with the compared previous agenda items, check with the previous reports, because this will give a clarity that what are the pending items, what are the items to be considered at the next meeting, what are the items needs to be reported to the shareholder as a statutory part. This will make your report more comprehensive and more conclusive. So with these words, I know we have a time constraint, as well as you people were also throwing queries in between, and I have asked many of you to keep your queries jotted down to enable me to answer at this point of time. I will request ICSI analysts, those who are on the line. Yes. Can I go ahead with the question answer session?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. If you have if you take that you have completed your presentation, you may proceed for the question answer session.
Yes. So I'll leave it for the question answer session because many of they were asking the questions.
Sir, we are having some kernel questions. I'll just ask one of them. Like we are having 4 or 5 questions.
Yeah,
so
please.
why is the drafting skills so important for the profession as whole?
Yes. Very much apt question, like why the drafting is so apt for our profession or so much required for our profession as a whole. The one reason is that as the many of the students must be, in fact, I can tell you they will be able to answer more aptly than me. The reason all being that our profession is not only confined to the drafting. As I was telling them, it's not only related to the drafting. Drafting anybody can do, but drafting in a way which should be lucid to the shareholder, with at the same time taking care of all the measures, like whether I'm legally allowed, whether any repercussion is there, whether any chance that I may miss, whether shareholder have authority to this or not, whether the board is acting in power or not, whether any information which I am sharing or drafting in the minutes can count as a price sensitive information or not. All these measures only and only a company secretary can check, and that is why the company secretary is considered as a key designated person for the purpose of these drafts.
The second one is there any guidelines or regulation for uniformity of notice agenda minutes?
Right. Again, a relevant question which I think will benefit everyone. That is there any rule or regulation which prescribes the standardization or uniformity of whatever it discussed? Because after my session also, I'm sure you all will have a very number of queries in your mind. Sir, is there any rule or where we can see the draft of all? I will say there is no rule. There is no regulations. There is no SOPs. But we have a Secretarial Standard 1 issued by the Institute of Company Secretaries of India. Secretarial Standard 2 on respect of general meeting issued by the Institute of Company Secretaries of India. These two standards guide us on the agenda notes and the notice, as well as they do guide us on the common practice to be followed for taking care of the drafting skills while presenting it to the board, be it like a notice, agenda notes or minutes. So these are the two document standards which plays a role in maintaining the uniformity for our drafting skills.
And do we need to possess strong provisional knowledge to ensure good drafting?
I couldn't get you, ma'am. Sorry.
Do we need to possess strong provisional knowledge to ensure good drafting?
Right. Yes, this is the question students do talk about a lot. They always feel after hearing that drafting skills, we have to check whether they have the authority, board has the authority or not, shareholders have the authority or not, whether this item require approval or not. Do we really need a very strong knowledge? Then my answer will differ here. I will say not a strong knowledge, but yes, a good reasonable knowledge. Because otherwise, without any provisional knowledge, like a knowledge in respect of the trigger of the provision, we will not be able to present it in a very lucid manner. Like there is some question which is coming on the screen only. Somebody said whether I need a legal knowledge, proper legal English. Like say for example, ab initio, inter alia. We use mutatis mutandis. These kind of words when we use, do we really know this kind of a grasp of knowledge? Then I will say that is not required. These are the legal words which you may possess or not. But what you need is a reasonable good knowledge of provision. That what your provision says, whether this section allow you or not, whether the provisions of the Companies Act, CBLODR, FEMA regulation, or any Labour Factories Act permit me for this passing of this resolution or not. So these reasonable knowledge should be possessed, not requirement of a great knowledge.
Sir, one of the student asking that how can improve these skills if I'm not at all good in drafting?
Yeah, that's another question. Many of are asking me privately also in the chat box that how we can improve the drafting skills, because we have discussed in thread where the entire structure is skeleton of drafting. But how we improve it? I told you the way of improving is that we discussed 2 or 3 slides also. First is that actually know the intent of this draft. When you know the prime intent of the objective of the document, you will be clear with the idea of coverage. Like I'm circulating agenda. What is the agenda all about? So it should be backed by agenda notes. Agenda note which should be brief. Then what exactly? Once I know the objective of the document. Second, I should know about the covering of required provisions, because my informations without legal support is irrelevant. If say for example a requisite or proposal has come up for setting up a division and I say okay, I'm circulating the note, it may fall back on me. Why? Because this may or may not require approval from the board. So why I need to ensure that it should be having a legal support? The reason being, once the prime objective is there, second, it should be backed by the legal support, and third, while drafting, yes, I will not say that English should be very commendable, but it should be good, because again and again I was telling the minutes of the meeting are treated as a conclusive evidence, and there if you go wrong, it may create a hell lot of problem, because in our English the punctuation, the use of grammatical things do play a vital role. So the another aspect is that increase your talent on these other aspects also. That is the another requirement. I will not say it is a prerequisite, but it is a condition subsequent. So these are the way we can improve our drafting skills.
Karan Jindal is asking that is it necessary to draft regulations in past tense while drafting both notice and minutes?
I couldn't get you, ma'am. Can you come back?
So Karan Jindal, one of the students, is asking that is it necessary to draft regulations in past tense while drafting both notices and minutes?
Resolution will always be drafted in the present tense. See, we have discussed today, and I'm sure it has gone into the minds of everyone, that there are certain tenses we need to be careful, like preamble, which is a short introduction for the resolution, is always in past. Then minutes, always written in the past. The resolution part, where we write, resolve that, it should always be in the present tense. Resolution cannot be in the past tense. Resolution will always be written in the present tense only. And future, I have told you, future tense is for your career. Use future tense for your career only.
And now next question is, as far as reports are concerned, is role of CS also expanded to anything else beyond annual report?
It is just a second. See, madam, here in the reports aspect, I will say the CS role is not only confined to the annual reports. Like at the last para I covered you, the reports we are required to prepare in our day-to-day life, the day-to-day reports. Like many of the agenda items will be pertaining to us. As a listed company, you are required to give a quarterly corporate governance report, which is again our domain. We are required to give a report to the shareholders from time to time, communicating on the various aspects, which is again our company secretary's role. So the company secretary's role is not only confined to the statutory annual report, rather we are much beyond and above the annual report, and it covers reports in various areas other than the annual report.
Srasti is asking, it is required to mention sections in minutes?
Section in the minutes, yes, a very good question from the student, because they must be worried from the exam perspective. They always think it's good, it gives good marks while writing sections in the examination. So same may happen in the minutes. See, minutes doesn't require the code of section everywhere. But when you are passing the resolution comes from the authority. And when you are writing that authority, you should first write that who has given you the authority. So for that, we take the privilege of writing the section there. Unless or until the resolution is there, you may do away with writing the section. But whenever you are adopting the resolution, as I was discussing in the resolution part also, we have seen every resolution like resolve that pursuant to this, resolve that pursuant to this. We always quote the section, because otherwise, who is giving you this authority? Where from you got this sensitivity? So this is the requirement of writing in the resolution and not in the entire.
Sir, at the end, that's last question we will be taking. That however, it's all related to drafting skills and all. The last question is of Sakshi Mittal. How to improve drafting skills? You may just conclude your session with drafting skills.
See, again, we come back to the drafting. Like people are concerned about that. Yes, how we improve our drafting, and drafting is altogether not related to the legal aspect or legal provisions only. And at the very beginning, I told you our profession much more dependent on the drafting skills, because legally, as a legal corporate lawyer, the lawyer has to play with the pain only. It's only the handcraft skills which play the role. If you look at the judgments, if you look at the hearing, it is only our argument, it is only our wording that plays a role. We are not the fighters on the borders. We are the fighters through our papers and pain. So here we need to be very careful about writing the words, very careful about uses of words, very careful about uses of provision. Second question comes, this is all about basic. Now, what are the ways, 2 or 3 ways where we can improve? The first I told you, have or develop a reasonable knowledge of the provision. Reasonable knowledge of the provision in the sense, try to grasp the legal provisions of the law. Try to learn the basic aspect of the provision. Try to keep yourself updated. Like our phone, be it Android or be it like iPhone. If you do not update your software, your phone will hang for sure. So look for a good Wi-Fi. Immediately we get a free Wi-Fi, we update our software. Similar thing is required for you. Whenever you get time, looking for Wi-Fi is getting for time. Whenever you are getting time, update your software, update your knowledge repository, so that you will be updated with the time. Otherwise, if you are not updated, you will not have advanced feature. And if you want to have advanced feature, then you have to be updated. Now, third is that, sir, my English is poor at all. I can't write well. There are so many ways of improving English. Try to speak in English as much as you can. Try to write in English as much as you can. I better suggest write about yourself at the end of the day for 5 or 6 lines that what you have achieved in the day or what you have lost. In this way, you will be able to write a bulky book on yourself, maybe in the next 5 or 10 years, which may be published in some good house, and you will develop a good knowledge of using vocabulary and having English knowledge. Third is that where to use what provision. Say, for example, I'm writing about the board's decision on the setting up of office. Sir, how come I know which section will be used? That will come with your correlation power. How you will develop that correlation power is that making a summary of the provisions. Whenever you are free, try to finding out the case studies, read some legal case studies on the various journal websites, read the case studies which is being published in the student company secretary bulletin from time to time. All these things will help you in grasping the knowledge. And the last but not the least way of improving your command on the topic is that listen to the news, the corporate news like CNN. This time now, I'm not like having any relation with CNBC. Plus, your institute also publishes various bulletin from time to time, like info capsules, like student company secretary bulletin. So all these bulletin, all these info capsules, you should go through, read it. Don't like what happened. The problem is happening to you when you look at the student company secretary bulletin. There is, say for example, there is somebody has submitted an article on the board through electronic corporate governance or board through video conference. Then after getting that board through video conference, we just think of that. Oh, okay, they are talking about the video conference. Then in that way, you not read the entire how they are going about, what they are writing basically, how they are using the word. These words will help you in improving your drafting skills because you will learn from each and every new word. And always try to make a report in a crisp. Don't grab the topic, don't write too much. So with this, I end up here and I summarize. I hope I have answered all these questions. Still, there are some questions I'm open to it, but I tried my best, given the time that yes, to conclude this session.
I hope that all students has enhanced their knowledge in drafting skills. And yes, of course, by practicing more and more, you can improve your drafting skills. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for your time. I hope the students enjoyed a lot and has enhanced their knowledge. Thank you.